Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Decentering Men series. This series is meant to help you take men off the pedestal by realizing what their flaws actually are. So, today I'm going to be talking about how most men have terrible personalities. Reason number one, I literally saw a guy on YouTube talking about how men shouldn't make jokes because making a joke is called jester maxing. That's being a jester. So they're literally admitting that they have no sense of humor. You can't even laugh with him. And he's basically just going to sit there like a bump on a log as a cranky old man. Imagine spending the rest of your life with an angry, cranky old man. Like, men are literally online saying that it's bad to have a sense of humor because, that means you're trying to entertain her. That means that you're acting like a class clown. You're acting like a joker. You're acting like a jester. And she doesn't really like you for who you are. She only likes you for your sense of humor. And it's like, sir, who are you then? If you are not your personality, if you are not your past decisions or your present decisions, and now you're saying that you're not even what your sense of humor is, if all of those things are detached from your identity, then who are you? Because you're making yourself sound like a sociopath. You're making yourself sound like you are extremely mentally ill. And that also makes no sense because I've also seen some men talking about how they want to become friends with women, not so they could just sleep with that woman. So they're saying that they're seeking out women who are medium ugly to be friends with, and they're hoping that that medium ugly woman has some hot female friends that he could then date. Okay, so you're literally admitting that your entire existence is to extract something out of a woman. So you're saying you have nothing to offer, you don't even want to have a sense of humor, you can't bring life to the party, you're not adding anything to the conversation. You're walking around cranky, but then in return, you want the woman to be your friend so that hopefully you can go and fuck some of her friends. These men are literally admitting that they're targeting women who have a big female group of friends so that they can basically run through all of those women in the group. And they're literally admitting that their female friends act as kind of like a surrogate girlfriend or almost like a surrogate matchmaker. That's what men are doing. They're becoming friends with women so they can use those women as their matchmakers. If he is not trying to fuck you directly, he's trying to fuck one of your friends. I want you to think about your male friends right now. If you're a woman watching this, think about your top 5 closest male friends, if they even exist. And if that man is not trying to sleep with you, chances are he's probably trying to sleep with one of your friends. Or maybe he wants to sleep with your sister or your roommate. So he's literally using women as a social climbing tool. And isn't it ironic because they get mad at women for doing that to them? But then they're literally admitting that they only want to be friends with you if you have hot female friends. And by the way, this also explains why a lot of us exoticals, this explains why a lot of women want to be our friends as well. Because as a pretty girl, you increase your friend's desirability in the male gaze. You make that man want to be friends with her because she has proximity to you. So men are using women to be their matchmakers. They're using women to be their social planners. They're using women to plan their social calendars. They use women as socialites. Like, okay, if I can't sleep with her, hopefully she'll introduce me to some other women, and then I can just get those women's phone numbers and try to sleep with them. And also, I have a genuine question for the men. Why would we want to be friends with you? Like, seriously, you're literally admitting that you don't have a sense of humor. You're admitting that you see no value in a woman other than her looks and body or being in a romantic relationship with you. So what makes me think that suddenly you want to be just friends? You don't. Men don't want to be just friends. In fact, they make fun of other men for being in the friend zone. They think of the friend zone as like this social purgatory. It's like, oh, I'm trapped in the abyss of the friend zone. I have to get out of it. Okay, so that proves my point that most men are not satisfied with being just friends. And that's why a lot of men, they'll try to wait until you get drunk. They'll wait until you're vulnerable. They'll wait until you go through a breakup. And then they'll try to swoop in. And he's basically waiting for his turn. They even have a saying where they say, she's not yours, it's just your turn. So if he's friends with a woman, that means that she's not his. He's waiting for his turn then. So if he's not with you, he believes that one day he will get a chance to be with you. Because another one of their talking points is that women are always in and out of relationships. So that's also why you see some men still trying to be BFFs with women who have boyfriends. They're over here trying to be friends with women who have husbands. Why? Well, because deep down inside, he believes that it's only a matter of time before you and your husband get a divorce. And so he's going to be waiting in the woodworks. Some men will wait 10 and 15, 20 years to finally get their chance to sleep with you. And by the way, I've also noticed that this is all really just centered around sex and validation. A lot of men, they're getting their validation through having sexual or emotional access to a woman. And it's like, sir, why are you so enthusiastic about being friends with women? Why don't you guys stay friends with each other? I've seen a lot of men where they will be friends with some women for like 15, 20 years. But then when you ask them, hey, who are your top 5 male friends? They can't name anybody. And by the way, in order to have friends, you actually have to have hobbies. And we know that a lot of men don't have any real hobbies outside of the house. Most men just sit in their apartments. They treat their apartment like a prison cell. He just goes to work and he comes home. Work, gym, home. That's all he does. So he's basically living his life as if he was on house arrest. And then I'm supposed to believe that suddenly you're going to have this great personality. Suddenly you have so much to offer. And it's like, sir, you haven't even socialized outside of the house in 25 years. All you've been doing is playing Sims and 2K and Grand Theft Auto for the past 30 years. And you expect me to believe that suddenly you've got all these social skills. Suddenly you would just make such a great friend. No, you wouldn't. And that's why a lot of men don't have friends. It's because they don't have hobbies. They don't have any hobbies outside of the house. A lot of men, the majority of their social interactions happen on the internet. And so that's where you get this culture of kind of like these incel men. It's not that they're just incels with women. These men, they don't experience real life. They actually are living their lives in a simulation because his entire life revolves around his iPhone. His entire life revolves around a video game. His whole life revolves around whenever they come out with the next 2K game. His life revolves around football. Whatever is on the TV, that is what he is entrenched in because he doesn't have a source of stimulation outside of like the internet. And that's another reason to decenter men because it's like, am I really supposed to dedicate my life to this? Most men don't even have a lot of life experiences. I mean, let's think about it. What's the average income in the United States? It's lower than 100K. So that also ties into most men not being able to travel. No wonder they fantasize about being a passport bro. Do any of these men even have their passports? Has he even used his passport in the last 10 years? Think about it, especially if he's black or if he's a man of color. Oh, come on. You expect me to believe that the same group of men who complain about being brutalized by the police, they complain about colorism, texturism, and featureism against themselves. They complain about people being threatened by them. You expect me to believe that that man can just travel to Italy? He can just go to the Middle East. He can just go to all these different countries and suddenly he's going to be worshipped? Suddenly it's going to be that they're rolling out the red carpet for him? No. That's how I know that a lot of the men online, they're not even well-traveled either. And by the way, in order to make it in another country and in order to make friends, you also have to be able to communicate. A lot of the men who talk shit, they can't speak a second language. He only speaks one language. He's not even fluent in that second language that he's talking about getting a passport for. Do you know how much dedication it takes to learn a second language? Do you know how many hours you have to spend in order to learn a second language? Comment down below. Anybody who's an exotical, who's multilingual, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how many hours it takes just for you to even be conversational in a second language. So a lot of these men, they're living in kind of this fantasy land, and then a lot of them don't make good friends and don't even have good personalities because it's like, okay, where's his personality coming from? Who are his personality role models? Is it just a bunch of red pill guys online? Is it video game characters? Like, who are this man's role models? Who does this man look up to? Who was his father, if he even had one? So that's why I say that women should just decenter men, because a lot of men don't even have a real identity. They're literally shaming other men for having a sense of humor. They're saying that if you laugh with a woman, you're being a bitch. If you make jokes, you're being a jester and you're a pussy and you're just trying to impress her. And it's like, okay, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting to impress someone you love? What's wrong with wanting to impress someone that you care about? Or, you know, if you deeply admire someone, maybe you want them to see your sense of humor. Isn't that interesting how literally they're putting pressure on other men to not have a sense of humanity. And then they wonder why society treats them like monsters. And another thing they'll say is, oh, well, don't tell her any of your personal background. Don't share anything personal. Don't be vulnerable with her because she's going to use that against you. Okay, so now you've got a bad sense of humor. You're cranky. You never leave the house. You want me to go 50-50. You want us younger women to get with super old guys. So now you're a cranky old man. And then you're not even going to share any information about your background. So you're basically just a cranky, mean old stranger sitting in my house. I don't want that. And these men wonder why no woman wants them. It's like, yeah, because you literally have nothing to offer. You're not contributing anything positive to that woman's life. And another thing that I'll hear them saying is, oh, well, if a woman really wants you, she'll chase after you. Women chase after the men that they want. That's false. Pickmes chase after the men that they want. So I think a lot of men, they conflate pick-me's with all women. And so they're only used to dealing with pick-me's. They're only used to dealing with hood boogers. That's why they complain about women liking Pookie and Ray Rays. Well, it's because you hang out with the women who like Pookie and Ray Rays. You're around a bunch of hood boogers. You're around a bunch of ratchet people. You're stereotyping the entire black community as being a bunch of ghetto-ass Pookies when that's false. You're missing an entire sector of the black community. You're missing out on the black excellence community, which is what I talk about. So these are the Michelle Obama types of black people. These are the Barack Obamas. These are like some biracial black people, the multiracial black people, the multicultural black people. Everybody black is not a gangster. And so you can also tell that a lot of those guys are very monocultural as well. So you're telling me that you come from a monocultural background, you had a monocultural upbringing, but suddenly you want to get your passport and you want to pretend to be multicultural? That's not how life works, sir. But you wouldn't know that because you just sit in your house and gamble and watch porn 24/7. So a lot of them, they talk about women being delusional, and it's like, no, actually they're extremely delusional because once you strip everything, they say you can't have a sense of humor, looks don't matter, women only care about money, they only care about status. Okay, so once you strip everything away, then what's left? Because it doesn't sound like anything I want. Oh, and speaking of looks, I saw that some men are talking about this one black guy. I think his name is like King 6'8" or 6'8" the Great or something. So they're trying to use this black man as an example. And they're like, oh, he's an example of the one that all the women want. And then they're showing videos of this guy walking around in bars. And then they're showing women walking up to him. Okay, a woman walking up to you and saying hello, that's not the same as her giving you her pussy. That's not the same as her dedicating her life to you. That's not the same as her committing to you. So men's standards are actually extremely low. All you have to do is say hello to a man, and this man's going to be bragging on the internet saying, oh yeah, I get all the bitches. Yeah, I get all the bad bitches. Did you see the woman at the bar? She said hi to me. And it's like, sir, if you have to brag because somebody said hello to you, that's called breadcrumbs. In the female community, we call that breadcrumbing. So that's somebody who just says hello every once in a while. They give you just enough validation to keep you hooked, but they're not actually going to give you their time and energy. They're not actually going to commit to you. And so men, they're so attention starved, and a lot of them are so validation starved that they view a woman saying hi as you chasing him. So that's proof that you're chasing him because, you said hi to a man in the grocery store. You said hi to a man at the bar. And in terms of this 6'8" the Great guy, my first impression of that guy is he's most likely in the NBA or he's most likely an athlete. And I thought I saw something that said that he actually was in the NBA. Okay, so then that's also proof that it's not based on who he is then, right? It's only based on status. So do those girls really even like him or do they just like his money? So no matter which way you're spinning it, I still made my point, which is that a lot of you guys don't have anything to offer. You don't have anything genuine to offer. That's why women have been relegated to using you guys for your money. She's using him as a survival tactic. That's really what it is. She's using him as a walking 6'8" ATM machine. And I see men complaining about that too. They'll be like, oh, she doesn't really like him. She just likes his money. Okay, so then I could say the same thing about that 6'8" the Great guy. That women don't actually genuinely like him as a person. They like his fame. They like his clout. They like that he's a famous influencer. They like that they can get access to other men like him by being associated with him. Women social climb just like how men do. So it's hilarious how men can dish it out, but then they can't take it back. And in order to cope with being used, they call it, oh, the women are chasing me. Is she chasing you or is she chasing your money? Is she chasing you or is she chasing validation? Is she chasing you or is she just trying to survive? Like, what do you even define as you as a man? Any of these men that you see online creating content, if you were to ask that man, who are you? What defines you as a person? You know how I talk about decentering men? Okay, so with these men, what do you center? What's at the center of your identity? What's most important to you? Most men can't even answer that. If you were to ask the average man, what are your top 5 core values? And then tell me how you've lived according to those core values. Most men can't answer that. So you're making this excuse, oh, well, women will chase after the men they want. No, women will chase after the things that they want, such as money. Women will chase after the status that we want. Like, it's not just focused on the man himself. And also, a woman saying hi to you in a bar or a woman giving you a compliment, that's not her chasing you. Because if that's the case, then I guess all men chase women way more. That still proves my point that men want women way more than women want men. Because men compliment women in bars way more than women compliment them. And another hypocrisy, they'll tell other men, they'll be like, oh, don't validate her. So don't compliment her. Okay, so you don't want to validate women, but you want women to validate you. Like, do you think that we're idiots? You think that we can't sense the fact that you're disingenuous? Why would a woman randomly validate a man unless she feels like she could get something out of it? But I hear a lot of men saying, oh, well, I feel like I'm just trying to entertain her. I don't want to have to sit around and entertain this woman. And it's like, okay, if you were just being yourself, sir, then you wouldn't feel like a performance. If you feel like you're performing, it's because that's not who you actually are behind closed doors. So that sounds like a personal problem to me. It's not women's fault that you can't be genuine. It's not the woman's fault that you don't know how to just exist in your own body. You're the one that feels inadequate. You're the one that has to perform for her attention. Women aren't over here saying, oh, excuse me, you need to sit down and entertain me. No, that's men volunteering to do that. A lot of men are very chauvinistic. That's a part of toxic masculinity. They teach other men, or, a lot of men are followers. That's another thing. Most men follow other men. So all these little alpha males that you've been following, those men are chauvinistic. They're performing. Every time you look at those red pill podcasters and you see him screaming and throwing stuff and stomping on the ground and cussing and all that, being loud and obnoxious, all these streamers, they're constantly being obnoxious. They're doing all these extravagant pranks and stuff. Those are your role models. Those men are performing. So I think that's something that you should discuss amongst other men. That's not women's problem. And by the way, this whole concept of like having a mouthpiece, I've also heard some of them say this, like, oh, you have to have a mouthpiece. You have to spit game. It's like, okay, spitting game, that really just sounds like lies and manipulation. You have to entertain her. You have to laugh her out of her panties. You have to try. It's like, okay, you're just trying to manipulate that woman. So how are you going to get mad when women see through your manipulation, sir? And I also feel like another reason that you should decenter men is because, remember, men want women way more than women want men. I see a lot of men complaining about dating apps, and they'll be like, oh, women don't respond to me on dating apps. Women ghost me on dating apps. Well, yeah, that's because dating apps tend to be majority men. And usually it's the men who want to go on the dates. The women are kind of the product of dating apps. If women got off of dating apps, the apps would collapse. So women are the product. So the dating apps like Bumble and Hinge, they always show ads where they market a pretty woman. And I can even take it further and talk about how they always show a pretty exotical. Usually it's actually a multiracial, some sort of mixed race woman who's on these ads, especially for things like Bumble. But they'll show these pretty women on the ads so that the men will join. And so there's an uneven sector where it's like you've got more men wanting to date the women. And so that's why you're getting ghosted, sir. What happened to you wanting to compete? Men are the ones who created competition culture. Which gender created the concept of war? Which gender created the concept of hierarchy? Which gender created capitalism? Which gender created the economies that we know of today? That was men. So how are you going to get mad at your own gender for creating a dating economy and you feel like you're losing in that economy? That's something you should take up with other men. That has nothing to do with the women who are ignoring you. Oh, and by the way, women don't owe you a response. We don't owe you a response, just like how you try to ghost women. It's hilarious how men, they will try to pump and dump women, and then they get mad when women do the same thing to them. They get mad when women ghost them. So do you see this thing where it's like they can dish it out, but they can't take it back? So that's another reason that you should just decenter them, because a lot of men, they don't have a strong sense of identity. A lot of them are following very idiotic advice. You know, he's admitting that he can't even have a sense of humor because that's being a jester. So he's not even going to be fun to be around. You guys will never laugh. You're never going to laugh again for the next 80 years if you decide to spend time with him. And then supposedly that's supposed to make you turned on. But another bad social strategy from men is they will say that like women will chase the men that they want. And it's like, no, that's the Pickmes. And the thing about Pickmes is that usually a woman who's a Pickme, she's never a Pickme for just one man. That's where they get that talking point where they're like, oh, she's not yours, it's just your turn. Well, yeah, he's talking about Pickmes. That's why. That's all he's ever encountered. And by the way, a lot of these pickup artists, they're really teaching men how to attract anxiously attached women, because they're saying things like, oh, well, you need to get a woman where she always messages you first. You need to get a woman where she chases you. You need to get a woman where she's constantly initiating contact with you. Okay, so that's what you're attracting. You're attracting the type of woman who just chases men. So why are you suddenly shocked when she sees another guy who's hotter than you and then she decides to chase him? Why are you shocked? That was your whole strategy. So do you see what I mean when I say that a lot of men also, they lack foresight? They're not really good at long-term strategizing. It's all about instant gratification. Oh, how can I just get her attention as quickly as possible, even if it's just temporary? And another thing I've heard them say is like, oh, well, marriage is a ripoff, relationships are a scam. Okay, so then why are you mad when she pumps and dumps you then? Why are you mad when she ghosts you and then she gets a boyfriend and it's a different guy? Why are you mad when she takes another guy more seriously than what she took you? You just said that relationships and marriage were a ripoff. So how are you upset that you're being treated like a gigolo when that's the category you put yourself in, sir? You volunteered to be a gigolo. You volunteered to be the man that she just visits in between boyfriends. You volunteered to be the one-night stand or the temporary fling. And by the way, some of these men have such low self-esteem that they think that just getting a breadcrumb from a woman is like something to be celebrated. Like, oh wow, she slept with me one time 10 years ago. So I'm really that dude because, you know, I got to sleep with her back in 1995. Like, these guys are literally clout chasing off of their sexual history with women. So if that doesn't make women the prize, I don't know what does. That's why I say, you're always going to be the prize as a woman because men treat you as the prize. Just you saying hello is apparently, that, you know, that's such a big deal to them to where they will say, oh, she's chasing me. That's how invisible he usually is. That's why they're worshiping men like this 6'8" the Great guy. Oh my God, women said hi to him in the bar. Oh, he's a super alpha male. Oh my God, you're an alpha male because women said hello to you at the bar. You're an alpha male because women actually talked to you for more than 10 seconds. Everybody should bow down and worship you because you got 20 seconds of a random white girl's attention. And by the way, your attention is currency. As a woman, your attention is currency, especially if you're pretty. If you're pretty, your attention is currency even more. And I find it hilarious how they will shame women for hypergamy, but men are hypergamous in terms of looks. They're hypergamous sometimes in terms of skin tone. He wants anyone lighter than him. He wants anyone whiter than him. He wants anyone who is a different ethnicity than him. Okay, so he's hypergamous in terms of culture. He's from the ghetto, but he doesn't want a girl from the ghetto. He wants a girl from the suburbs. Okay, so that's still a form of hypergamy. You're just being hypergamous in terms of her socioeconomic background. You don't want the hood boogers who came from your neighborhood. You want the suburban women. You want the Michelle Obamas. So your Lil Wayne and you only want to date a Michelle Obama type of woman, that's still a form of hypergamy. You're chasing women based off of their status. So it's extremely hypocritical for them to say that women are hypergamous and that's bad, but then damn near every man you see is hypergamous in one way or another. He might be hypergamous in terms of youth. He wants a woman who's more youthful than him because he's afraid of dying alone. That's why he's going after the young women, because he feels like the younger woman is going to have more strength to be his caregiver. Okay, so that's still a form of hypergamy. You're chasing after women who are more youthful than you. You're chasing after women who are healthier than you. Have you ever seen a fat, out of shape man and he wants a woman who's in shape? That's still a form of hypergamy. Have you ever seen a man where he targets women who are doctors and nurses? That's a form of hypergamy. He wants a woman who has more medical knowledge than him. That's still hypergamous. You're hypergamous in terms of education. In terms of medical education, you're hypergamous. You want someone who's more knowledgeable than you about medications and caregiving and chemistry. Okay, so you're hypergamous, sir. Do you know how many uneducated men there are who want to only date women who graduated college? Okay, so that's hypergamy. You want someone more educated than you. You want someone with a higher education status than you. And another thing that I hear men talking about is making friends with women so they can practice socializing with women. Okay, so I'm basically your social guinea pig. So you're using me so you can learn how to manipulate women. You know, you're using me so you can practice spitting game. You're using me so you can practice your social skills. You're trying to use me as kind of like the test subject so that you could then find another girl and, you know, you already had your practice run with me. No, I'm not settling for that. Oh, and another thing that I've been hearing is men will say things like, oh, there's no point in self-improving. There's no point in looks maxing, personality maxing, whatever. There's no point in doing any of that. Okay, so you're admitting that you're a loser then. So you're a loser. You don't believe having a sense of humor is good because that's jester maxing. So you have no personality. You're not self-improving at all. So what in the world do we even have in common, sir? Nothing. And by the way, I also heard about this new phrase called geomaxing, where I guess they're doing the same thing that we talked about black women doing, where they're moving to places like North Carolina and Maryland so they can be more desirable. So I'm assuming that if men are geomaxing, they would probably go to a place like Atlanta, because I know that Atlanta has like way more women than men. But yeah, apparently these men are trying to move to cities where the ratio is in their favor, or they're trying to move to cities where they feel like their phenotype has more of a sense of status. So remember how I talked about that? I talked about how white men have been doing this for a long time, where they feel like maybe they don't get enough attention in the white female community, and so they'll try to switch over to the black female community because they're trying to benefit from exoticism. They know that these women of color, Asian women, black women, whatever, they know that these women will kind of pedestalize them. And that's also where we get the whole passport bro thing from as well. I've noticed a lot of passport bros tend to be men of color, or they tend to be white men who are poor. And so they're going to go to these third world countries because they know that their nationality is what will get them that pedestal. So the fact that they are from America is what causes women to give them attention in these other countries. So that's their form of geomaxing. And by the way, a lot of people try to date interracially or interculturally because they know that a person from another culture is less likely to understand their manipulation tactics. Like, for example, if you have a lot of experience with black men, it's probably easier for you to see a black man's manipulation tactics versus a white man. So that's why, like, when you look at women, like the Danish deception girl, you could tell based on her content that she didn't have a lot of dating experience with white men, and she even admitted it in her own video. She said that her usual type was not Danish men. And I think that part of what makes it easier for men to manipulate is when they go outside of their culture. You know, they go for a woman who has no experience with his flirting style, his dating style, his lying and manipulation style. But a lot of men are moving outside of the United States. A lot of short men are moving outside of the United States because I guess they're trying to say that in the US, that's where women are the most obsessed with height. And so they're moving to Southeast Asian countries because the people tend to be a little bit shorter. So it's like, okay, men want women more than women want men because you're literally willing to quit your job, you're willing to pack up everything, learn several different languages and move all the way across the world just for a chance of being with a woman. Because remember, moving, that doesn't guarantee you're going to find someone. So you're moving across the country. You're talking about Pickmes. I was talking about Pickmes earlier. Okay, well, men are really the ultimate Pickmes. That's the ultimate pick me right there. That's the ultimate simp right there. Because he's moving across the entire country. He's over here becoming an entire expat just so he can get access to you. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.